Well, Johnny, so good to be able to kind of chat to you and have this fireside chat. You are the Chief Commercial Officer at ASBO.
Or a lot of hats. I call myself brand director at the moment.
I see. Fair enough. Well, that kind of makes sense actually, with the really big transformation that you've gone through recently. Not quite a rebrand, but definitely an uplift, especially on the site and stuff.
Absolutely, refocusing of the brand.
Oh, cool. Grand. Well then, yeah, so Suzaku Consulting, we have helped you with a bunch of stuff over the past few months, and it's really exciting to see it all live now with your new website. We've moved you over to Google Workspace, and because ASBO sits under a charity, even though it's the commercial arm of the charity, it's also meant you can benefit from things like using Canva, and it's been a pretty major transformation actually. When I think about the last few months, it's been a lot of change for you. How have you found that? Has it been like positive and fun? Has it been a bit of a whirlwind?
I mean, sort of the industry that we're in moves pretty quick, but then on top of it, obviously learning all the new IT things can be a little bit you've been really helpful with that. But then also, what I would say is that since implementing these processes, it's been a lot quicker to do the things that we want to do. We've been able to be more responsive. Like Canva, for example, has meant that we're not at the behest of graphic designers as much for small tasks, we're having to go back and forth with them. Now, if it's something quite simple, not putting the full magazine together, but if we're just doing some social posts or need like a quick edit, yeah, Canva's perfect. In terms of the emails, we were using this really old, outdated email system. You moved us over to Gmail. It's made a huge difference as well. We've got the workspace and the drive, makes sharing files a lot easier. It's fantastic.
It's actually really interesting, the Google Drive thing, because the amount of storage they give charitable accounts is insane. And it's free. It's 100% free, which is great. And Canva are the same. We've done a fair few things with Good Stack, and I believe you sorted out the Adobe thing in the end, right?
We did. We got Adobe discount as well. Fantastic.
Awesome.
Obviously, when you're in a charity, you're trying to save money where you can, because you want it to go to towards your charity goals rather than obviously we're happy to pay for things, but we need.
Of course.
Go towards helping students.
But it's true for any business. So I mean, ASBO is the commercial arm of the D Foundation, and it is an entertainment and kind of publishing house really that does quite a lot. I think I can't describe it anywhere near as well as the brand director. So what does ASBO do at the moment, and what do the next few months look for you now that you've been able to go through these transformations and actually have the ability to be creative rather than having to be dragged down by tech rather?
So we're a bi-monthly print magazine. That's like basically our calling card. We do a magazine, goes out every other month, goes out in a Rough Trade, Banquet Records, and we're primarily aimed at like 18 to 34-year-olds. Aside from the magazine, we're also online all the time through Instagram and on the website. The whole reason why we started up the charity and do ASBO Magazine basically is for anyone who's tried to get into the media industry will probably know that it's a bit of a walled garden unless you're in the know, someone, or unless you're able to afford to work 5 days a week for free, and you eventually might get a job. So much of it's on that behest. So it ends up being quite elitist and stagnating because there's not enough new talent coming through, from various backgrounds. So we set up a magazine basically to allow young people to have a platform. We're platforming not only young creatives in the magazine, it's all written by young creatives, who are it's all like, so for example, from the graphic design to the writing, to the shoots, if the stylist on a shoot, if they're doing the journalism, well, they're going to go to a festival, you're not going to be making the brews for us. No, you're actually going to be producing the magazine. You're going to be pitching the content to us because, who are we to tell young people what's new? They're going to tell us what's new, So they're pitching the magazine together, and actually through that, we're actually we got 150 copies delivered to Rough Trade in Liverpool on Thursday, not Thursday week before that. And by the Saturday they were all gone. So we've had people asking for reorders. But in terms of how your transformation has helped us, it's just made things easier. Everyone's familiar with Gmail, so getting someone's email and getting on that is so much easier than using the old system that we had, which was kind of like this strange bespoke system.
The old system was Roundcube, and it's really common for kind of hosting providers to use Roundcube or Surgo because it's free. But it's like you say, it's a little bit clunkier compared to something that's really modern and smooth like Google Workspace. And like you say, you work with so many young people, so it's something that they instantly know. You don't have to train someone how to send emails. You just give them an account and they crack on, which used to be a thing, actually. I remember when before we used Google Workspace at ASBO, it was a bit of a slog, actually, to get people up to speed. It was a big pain point for you.
I would certainly agree, and I would say, like, with the amount of submissions that we get, for people being in the magazine, being able to search through them easily, it makes all the difference. Being able to organize it, because you kind of end up doing things ad hoc because you'll get an email and just get buried in the submissions, and you might forget about it or something like that. At least with Google Mail, everyone sort of knows how to do it. You get the calendar to bang in meetings, like we were using. I don't remember what we were using before. We sort of, everyone had their own things. Some people would be using Zoom, some people using all this stuff. Now we're on Google. We just use the calendar. We just put the meetings in that way. So much more straightforward.
It's really good.
Yeah, we were kind of having to find ways around doing things rather than just having it all in the one place. I would say certainly that's a massive improvement in our process, like tech-wise.
In terms of the print magazine, so the print magazine publishes it has quite a wide readership, actually. So how many issues do you tend to actually have physically printed? Because you have them made in Italy because it's so specialist, right?
Yeah, so it goes out through a corporate social responsibility with the printers. We get about 20,000 copies done. It goes out through all kinds. So it can vary from around 20,000 to 30,000, depending on which issue it is and how the printers feel in that month. How much paper they got left, I suppose. But then through that, we're distributing to major unis. We're distributing to I say record shops. And we're actually apparently, according to Student Union, the most stolen magazine in the uni library.
I love that story, and I believe it too. It's the team at Suzaku have all been involved in this transformation at ASBO. It's been quite big. As a kind of creative organization and publisher, you guys do quite a lot, and we've had to make sure that sort of every single tile lines up, which has been very detailed work. And so for my younger staff, they've been really excited to work with ASBO because you have instant recognition among your target audience, which is young adults and young people. And it's quite funny, I think there comes a point where someone's about 30 years old and you have to explain to them what ASBO is, unless they're well into music. And if they're younger than 30, there's no explanation needed. They're just like, wow, you work with ASBO. I've got this opportunity to do this project with these guys. It's been really exciting for us because very rarely do my staff sort of say, you're working with this creative or this developer or this construction company. Thank you so much. This is so exciting. With ASBO, I've just got a million thank yous. It's been amazing. Grace and Lita and the team have just done so much and enjoy doing it, working with you guys. I mean,
I thought they were absolutely fantastic. And the help that they've given was invaluable. But I think the thing is, like, people often think that we're like millionaires running a big publishing house, whereas actually there were actually a small team. There's about 5 of us on the core team, and kind of you got to reorganize your headspace from 1 minute doing the charity side, and 1 minute you're doing editorial, then you're doing the website, then you're doing meeting people out at Escape or whatever. But actually having people sit down with us and go through things, because we don't always have time to go through specifics of our social media strategy and things like that. It's kind of done ad hoc. But it was nice with Lita to go through that, and with Grace as well.
It was really interesting as well to just kind of see your perspective as a business and how you do that and how you do your publishing, because as we are moving into, of course, you've still got your core product, which is the magazine, but you're moving into having a wider variety of digital publishing channels, I suppose they'd be called, right? A sort of multi-channel digital arm, which I guess Canva helps a lot with, but you've still got your designers that do a lot of the detailed work.
Oh, well, big time. Like, I mean, the designers, like, InDesign, obviously, there's a big barrier to entry. Like, that's what they have to use pretty much for the publishing of the magazine. But Canva, if you want to just make a social post or an animation or something for the website, just fire away. You know what I mean? You can have it done in less than an hour. And you don't need a lot of training to use it. Even our trustees are finding it fairly easy to use.
I'm glad to hear that. And goodness, it's quite exciting. I think we've been working away for about 3 months now on so many things, and you've got a lot lined up going forward as well, right? I mean, what's the next few months looking like for ASBO?
Well, yeah, what I would say is, like, we're kind of running along with the speed of that ASBO is moving at the moment, and certainly we're expecting a lot more growth over the next year or so. Like, certainly in terms of fundraising and things like that, we've been able to expand our efforts in that through working with yourselves, and then also that brings us on to the thing that we're most looking forward to, which is getting more people doing helping with the back office kind of thing, either through raising money for them for full-time roles, or through going through the volunteers portals, which have been helping us with as well, which has been fantastic.
That's good.
And so through that, I think the next months for us, we've got very soon. HMV have asked to see our magazine, so that's something that we've been working on for a while. I think they're gonna like it. Everyone wants a copy, so if we get in HMV on the high street, think our goals for the next year would certainly be to run an event. That is kind of what we're looking at, is doing more events for the magazine, because obviously Fresh is coming up, but also at festivals and things, we've been approached by festivals to do stages. We've been considering doing potentially even our own events. We've got 20 years of from the D Foundation archival, like, street style material, which is basically grassroots photography and grassroots fashion, documenting basically youth culture. And then through that, we're actually potentially, nothing confirmed yet, but potentially looking at doing an exhibition for that. We've not got anything firmed up for that. But yeah, I'm foreseeing over the next year we're just going to be incredibly busy. Like, it's I'd say certainly a time of growth. Like, we're certainly finding we're just finding ourselves run off our feet, and certainly getting the technology in place has been really helpful and stopped it. One of the things about our magazine is that we're always working with young people, and they are fantastic. Obviously when they come on, they don't necessarily know how to do anything. Whether it be how to write for a magazine, how to do SEO, which is important for the website, how to do how to conduct yourself in a business meeting. Not everything's obvious, when you're just coming out of uni. There's a lot of teaching goes on for young people, but then obviously once they've learned from us, they're getting headhunted, by Bauer or by So Young magazine or whoever it is. But what that means is then we've got we might have a really talented editor, like smashing the site, but then we've got to train someone up, We do have a pipeline for that, but certainly having the tech in place in those processes makes it much smoother for us. And we envision being able to help a lot more young people into the media industry, or if they're not quite found the place, we'll give them skills in something else and they'll move on to something else. But by having the technology in place and the help that you've provided, Amber, it's been fantastic, and will really help us move with the speed we want to, at the speed we want to, the speed we need to.
I'm really glad to hear that. I think sometimes ASBO do sell yourselves a bit short because you've got your core team, and then you have hundreds of sort of freelancers, young people, suppliers who go into the production of the magazine.
True.
And especially when you get to print, it becomes quite manic because you are juggling lots of people vying to be on the front cover, lots of people vying to have those two pages, and then you also have the advertising element of it. So you're trying to get people to say, well, yeah, I want to speak to young people, young adults in the UK who are interested in music, fashion, gaming, and get them to spend money on it. So there's actually a lot that you guys juggle. It's what I find really interesting about it, because I guess through having the technology in place, you can then manage hundreds of suppliers effectively, freelancers and young people, through the production of the bi-monthly mag, as well as the online site, the editing that goes into that. It's a really high production operation, really.
You're not wrong, actually. And when you say we sell ourselves short, yeah, I say that there's 5 of us doing it. That's not true. But there's 5 of us doing the kind of back office stuff. The kind of stuff not involved as in the production, right? But in the production magazine, yeah, hundreds. So we'll do shoots. We've got the photographer, we've got the stylist, we've got set support, we've got lighting. This cover we shot at the London College of Fashion.
Oh, nice.
One of their students, photographer. We had about 9 people on that shoot. 9 young people. Who've all now got a credit and print, but then they're also working with ASBO. You know what I mean? So that carries in itself. That it opens doors for them. But through contributing to the magazine, I think we have hundreds of people reaching out through Instagram. So we've got a constant influx of young people working.
It's really interesting because the structure of ASBO itself is a little bit quirky. You've got the D Foundation as the umbrella organization, which is, if you were, the charitable arm, and then you've got ASBO, which is a commercial entity almost that enables the production of a magazine, which would it be fair to describe ASBO as a social enterprise? It is a creative social enterprise with a mission.
We're disrupting the market. Say you look at our summer issue. So we had the Mother Touch. You look at ID, they had Naomi Campbell. You look at I can't remember what everyone else said. Sorry? The Face, yeah, the Face. Oh, they had Goldie on. You know what I mean? These are people who are old. And I'm not being disparaging, but they're old. And there's enough platform for young people in the same way that there is for these more established legacy artists, and who needs the leg up? It's not necessarily Goldie or Naomi Campbell, is it? So what we are, our mission really is to disrupt it, provide that platform for young creators, showcase their work, get them into the industry. Because if they're just honestly not as interested in Goldie and Naomi Campbell, no shade on them. But the reason why they like ASBO is because it's their magazine. They can be in it. They are producing it, and it's speaking to that generation.
Absolutely, ASBO is forever young, which is kind of what you want if you're in music, if you're in fashion. It is an interesting one where many of the rock gods of today are 80 years old. They really do look like somebody out, a painting of God, rather than being young people.
Yeah. Well, it's a very pyramid-shaped industry in some ways. There's a lot of kind of established acts, and the money tends to funnel there. But there's so many people at the bottom, who are trying to get in there. And there's not things like ASBO out there. I mean, you could almost say we're a bunch of pissed off media students who started a magazine because it's pathetic the way it's organized. I won't say pathetic. I'll just say it's elitist. It's elitist, I would say. In the way that if you've not got the money, you've not got the connections, you're going to find it very difficult. And especially since one thing we do find is that we get so many young people from outside of London reaching out to us to work with us, because the the opportunities out there just aren't the same as they are in London as well, you know. And it can be very difficult to get yourself established in the industry if you're living in those kinds of areas. But we you know, we're not bothered. We'll work with people anyway. You know, if they want to talk to us about the Manchester music scene, or they want to talk to us about the Lowestoft music scene, you know, wherever it is, can be anywhere as small as you like, you know, and through that, you know, they're able to gain their experience. They get, you know, the developing confidence. You know, we've worked with some young people. You know, they've come along and a bit, you know, don't quite know the place, a bit shy and retiring maybe, but you'll take them to a festival, or they'll go on to a festival. They'll come back. They've been to the press area. They've worked with it. They've met a lot. You know, that's one of the most important things that we offer for young people is networking. You know, they're going out, talking to people, meeting people in the industry, and it's through them connections that you get the job. Like in most industries, but especially in media, you know, you need. It's all about who you know, who knows you, and what have you done, and that's what we're able to provide.
No, absolutely. You know, when people is your industry and their creative output is your business, then actually knowing who knows who and just being able to introduce the right people to each other is definitely really valuable. And ASBO do provide that sort of melting pot. I think the ability to work from anywhere as well is so valuable because you and a lot of the trustees are traveling actually quite a lot. You're going to for example, you go to London Fashion Week, you go to different rock concerts, and being able to just move around and work on the go and still keep tabs on everything and everyone is really valuable.
I mean, it's the kind of industry that it is, you know, and a lot of, and the way it's gone, again, which is something which the unis haven't really accounted for or caught with. No shade on you, well, a little bit of shade on unis. They're not teaching people how to freelance. You know, which is really what this industry is. You know, it's portfolio-based freelance industry, and you know, a lot of the lecturers, well, they've got a steady job, haven't they? You know, so they're not having to work in the same way, and you know, getting into the industry as a freelancer is hard. Obviously, you know, it's always competition with other freelancers, but more established ones. But just being able to have that, and you know, it can knock young people's confidence. I mean, I think it's like 95% of, it's something like 90 or 95 or something mad, like in the north, of young people who've done these creative degrees don't really use them in their career. You know, so we're a pathway into that.
Amazing. And then you were able to produce a really high value, well-read, famous, if not world famous, publication.
We're not as demanding as other publishers, you know, like where they're like, come work for us for 5 days. We need you for 5 days. Your internship is literally 5 days. You've got to live in London. You know what I mean? Like expensive, time consuming. Like, how is anyone going to get into that? Like, you know, if you're not from the sorts of backgrounds that everyone else in the industry, or not everyone, but you know, there's. It's own worst enemy because, you know, obviously the working class and the middle, like working class are like, are the engine room of culture. You know what I mean? And that's where a lot of it's coming from. Like a lot of the fashion movement, a lot of the music. But in terms of the media, not so much. You know what I mean? It's a certain kind of background because of the way that they operate.
And that's the really interesting thing about ASBO, where actually ASBO is, in a sense, established media. You've been around for a very long time, and yet at the same time, you are an anti-establishment creative house, which enables young people to have the platform who otherwise wouldn't have the platform, and young creatives to produce really high value, high production output, be it music or fashion or just the back office work and working in a set. And I don't think that there is a comparable organization that works in the creative space in the UK, at least, that does what ASBO does. And you've got ASBO International now as well. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, so we're just working on opening our Italian office.
Wow,
very
cool.
And actually we've been selling them to America as well. This latest issue literally just sold out on our website. But the last copy was bought by an American.
Oh, there you are. And about the website, so ASBO have historically, the old ASBO website before the transformation was a single beast of a website that became this massive archive, which is incredibly valuable, but it also became quite unwieldy. And we've sort of split up the website. So you now have a dedicated web shop, you now have your front page site, and we've also done other things like build a CRM using City CRM, which is really interesting because that's also set up by a charity for charities, but it's really fully featured. So how have you found kind of juggling these different websites now? We've split up the website so you have a higher performing but also more diverse set of tools. Is that okay? Like, are you enjoying that? Is it quite a bit different from before?
It's way different from before. I mean, the old website was, as you rightly say, an absolute beast. Probably weighed about as much as the sun, and it was about as. It was basically. I mean, if ASBO was a rocket ship, then the old website was an ox cart, and it was attached to our rocket, and it wasn't really representing us very well. Like, honestly, it was okay. You know, it was a bit kitschy. It had a bit of a kitschy charm to it, but I'd say it was slow. You know, through, like as you say, we've got our history with ASBO, and we've worked with so many people. But unfortunately, the website was struggling under the load of about, I think, 70 gigs of content that had been uploaded to the website. So through, obviously, you've helped us kind of tighten up our guidelines for young people when they're uploading. You know, obviously, discouraging people from uploading huge press shots, but also one of the issues with the old site was that it just had not been updated in quite a long time. And so it was actually not possible to do a lot of things we wanted to do with the site because it was broken. It was working, but it was limping. You know what I mean? So I'd say like through getting the site, it's much the new site represents actually the magazine a lot better. You know, it's clean. It's got a lot of it loads quicker, which is important. But then also it's got a lot more. It just represents like the old website just was looking dated and it wasn't right for us. But then through working with yourselves and obviously you taking us through the new systems and things, it's been really helpful. Like one of the things that we did have like before was we had a volunteer doing the website, and then when they moved on, we kind of just struggled along with it because you know, obviously with us, as I say, the core team's small. Every other month we got this print deadline bearing down on us. So things like that can tend to go by the wayside. You know, you kind of strategic thinking sometimes go by the wayside with the magazine when you're embroiled in day to day, you know, and your editor's moved on or whatever. You know, there's always something pops up when you go into.
Oh, absolutely. There's always something slightly more important than tidying up, and it can really build up after a while. So no, I'm really glad that the new sites are working well, and I think it's important to say sites because actually you've I suppose based on our recommendation, you have moved your hosting to HippoServe, which is a very cool UK-based hosting provider who use 100% clean energy and give massive discounts to charitable and non-profit organizations. How have you found working with HippoServe? Because you have a direct line to them. You're saying you have them on WhatsApp now.
Yeah. We were chatting to them earlier, like we were just like literally launching the new site, and you know, it was something. Obviously, I'm a little bit hesitant to pull a trigger on something like that myself. Obviously, we had the website already built, like on a dev site, but when it came to actually launching it and flicking it from one.com to I just wanted, you know, with these kind of things, I can spend hours reading about how to do it until I'm satisfied that I know enough about doing it, or having a professional like, you know, Jason at HippoServe who was really helpful. He just did it, and it probably was nothing to him, but you know, it certainly spreads the load and makes it a lot easier.
Jason is really good. I think he's a third line engineer at HippoServe at the moment, and I've been very impressed when I dealt with him about different things as well, including the CRM that we spun up. HippoServe give a 75% discount on the hosting for you, which has meant that you've actually got
Yeah.
more money to spend on other areas of the business, which is really,
We are,
really good for
we are
you.
very grateful. We're very grateful. We
Oh,
gave
you
them
did?
gave them a credit, and we gave yourself a credit as well.
Oh, that's really sweet.
I mean,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
where is it?
Yep, there we are. Big thank you to us.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. That's really kind. I haven't read the latest mag. I've been really busy this week, but I will grab one.
I'll save one for you. We might have a couple left.
Yeah, sure. I'll buy you a drink as a thank you. That's really kind. So I guess one of the really big things for creatives, because you're a musician and you spent a really long time in the industry, IT is pretty stressful, right? I feel like sometimes when you just want things to get done, you just exactly, you kind of just, it becomes a distraction that stops you from having that creative energy, which is exhausting to produce beautiful things. And I guess in your case, it's music.
Yeah, I would completely agree with you. Like, you know, I'd say if there was one thing which was a pain in the backside, was probably IT was just not where we needed it to be. And actually there was a lot of things that we didn't even know that we needed, which you were able to advise on and put in place, you know, which has just neatened everything up, brought it all together, and it feels a lot more cohesive and less like we're having to find workarounds, you know what I mean? Because now we've got a lot of the things in house that we didn't have before.
Absolutely, it just works, which is really what you want.
It just works. Simply put, it just works.
Well, I'm really, really glad that we've been able to help you with this. And ASBO are on a massive growth trajectory, really. You know, like we were saying, you know, the team that you have with decades of experience between you, and then also hundreds of young people, which means further decades of experience between all of them. A lot of them are graduates or in their final years, aren't they? So you've got a really experienced, diverse team that's nationwide, and you're doing amazing things. And it's actually really awesome for us to have been part of ASBO's journey on this, and to continue to help you and work with you on your future work. It's pretty cool what ASBO do. Nobody else does it, and you as a team are also just brilliant to work with. So I'm really glad that we've been able to help you with that. You do a lot of work with local government and academic institutions now, don't you?
That's exactly correct. Yeah. So, you know, one of the things which a lot of courses are now facing, like certainly in terms of academics, is the government said they've got to lead on to something. You know what I mean? And a lot of times they don't have things like ASBO in place. So yeah, we're in a lot of discussions with a lot of different organisations at the moment with regards to that. And in terms of local government, you know, the job centres got a lot of young creatives that they're not necessarily sure how to deal with, you know, because it's a freelance career. They're not necessarily going to want to jump into a job at ASDA or in construction or in hospitality or whatever. You know, obviously that can be what could support them in the meantime. But what we need to do, what we're able to do, is offer young people the opportunity to get into the industry that they're into. You know, provide those opportunities.
It's really powerful, and definitely the impact that ASBO have is really felt. We were talking about the probably tens of thousands of people that have gone through ASBO, being able to build up their portfolio, and actually say that they've done a pretty demanding job. Actually, the magazine is not easy to make. I've also, when we were sitting with your office, I've seen lots of tense conversations about different design decisions when you end up having to publish, even on the train. So yeah, it's always ongoing.